Now, a moment that we were awaiting very much, all of us, the first keynote speech, for which I would like to welcome on stage Marco Gui. Please, Marco, join me on stage. Marco Gui is Associate Professor of the Department of Sociology and Social Research and the Director of the Digital Wellbeing Research Center at the University Milano-Bicocca. Marco will talk about, of course, digital well-being in the school. And are we asking the right questions? Please welcome Marco on stage.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the possibility of discussing these emerging and important issues with you. Let's see if it works. I can start anyway. Okay, here we are. So I'll start with a historical overview, very quick. Since the Lisbon strategy in the year 2000, Europe aimed to become the most advanced knowledge-based society in the world. And in this view, digitalization and innovation were two concepts that were linked very strictly together, in the belief that the process of digital innovation would have brought a lot of benefits. But this was a period of high expectations and hopes in many fields. For example, in economics, we expected a more efficient market. In politics, we expected a more democratic society. And also in education, we expected an increase in learning outcomes. We expected a more equal system, more inclusive system. These are some of the documents of that era, in which that also had an influence on policies, and the belief was that there would have been a direct translation of the process of digitalization into benefits. And the high potential that was seen was thought to be directly transferable to benefits. But now something changed. The mood changed. Around 2015, something happened. Mobile phones began to spread, and some data started to emerge that digital investment in education was not really improving learning. And then also business models that were very aggressive emerged, that use algorithms to profile us and give us what they think we need. And this change in mood was also translated into institutional documents, both in the field of mental health that was mentioned before, and in the field of digital education. We are still seeing the potential that was foreseen in those years, and this potential is still there. But the fact is that the conditions in which this potential can become actual action are more difficult to achieve than what we thought. And that's the era when the concept of digital well-being started to emerge. Obviously, this label is very large. It could mean a lot of things, but when scholars use this concept, they usually mean the optimal balance between online and offline, in the belief that we are experiencing an overstimulation in our daily life, and even adults are struggling to find a balance between this potential and the actual translation in their lives. These are new references that were already mentioned that start to take this issue into consideration. And so Europe is doing a lot to integrate the concept of well-being into digital education policies. current questions are asked in these new documents. For example, how can we digital innovate but also considering well-being? How can we develop appropriate digital skills? How can we regulate the platforms and the content that was also mentioned before? How can we train teachers and parents for this digitally saturated environment? And finally, how can we involve students in this move, in this step forward? But today I would like to ask you an additional question that I think it is complementary with these. Should we really take for granted that children are autonomously online? Why am I asking this question? Because from my Italian observatory, I see that there are a lot of requests from schools to families and students to be always online. And this is contradictory with the fact that we are, in some cases, trying to prohibit the use of smartphones in schools, but then outside schools, there are many requests for being always on. For example, students have to check their homework daily on their student information systems. They have to carry out online homework, watching videos, especially on YouTube. They have to be online to access their school platform. They have, and sometimes family surrender to these requests and buy mobile device for their children, even if they are a little bit cautious, even if they have some doubts, they feel an additional pressure from the school system to be online. And so you can imagine, there are 4 reasons, I think, that push us to question the fact that children have to be permanently online: scientific, social, legal, and related to equality. The scientific level, we have evidence that in particular pre-adolescence is the period that is more sensitive to problematic media use. So this is on the right, you see a newly published research that we carried out at Milano-Bicocca, and this is the first research, as far as we know, that uses longitudinal data to analyze the impact of age at first social media account or first smartphone ownership on learning outcomes in the long run, with 4 points in time. So if you're curious, take a look at this research that has newly published data. But in general, we have evidence that this is a very sensitive period. So we have to protect pre-adolescence, so lower secondary schools. Second question is social. Throughout Europe, but throughout the world, we have a mounting number of parental groups that are asking to postpone smartphones and social media. These are minorities, as you can imagine, but they are growing and they are asking something very, very specific: to find social norms that we now lack. There are many in the United States, but many in Europe, and I'm sure I forgot some of them because they are growing. So these groups, for example, are asking this question. Imagine a boy or a girl who is 10, 11, and he or she is home alone doing his homework, and parents are at work. So parents have 2 possibilities that are both unacceptable. If school is asking to stay online, so to leave him or her the whole afternoon online with insufficient filtering because this is the reality in the vast majority of cases. And the other possibility is to be always with him or her, controlling, supervising, and this is something that goes against his or her autonomy. So this is a problem. These are data gathered in Lombardy on 7,000 families. In blue, you see the age at which these families gave a smartphone, personal smartphone to their children. And as you see, there is a peak around 10, 11. The same families in orange responded to the following question. What is an appropriate age if you should write a recommendation paper for your school community? And as you see, answers change a lot in this case. So there is a gap between what we are doing in our practices and what we think is right for children, for their needs. And it is not explicit if we are not asking this question because we think that being online, being autonomously online is good for children, or if it's a kind of surrender-related fact. Third reason is a legal one. Well, I discovered a legal gap that is, maybe you can confirm this or not, but the GDPR states that the processing of personal data of a child are lawful where the child is at least 16, and some states have changed this. For example, Italy is 14. But there are no verified parental consent ways on social media. So currently, there's no way with which parents can give this consent. So practically, children below 16 shouldn't be on social media for European law. And so this is a legal gap, and this is another reason why we think about that period, the first period of adolescence, as something to think about, to protect more. Last reason is connected to social inequality. A new kind of digital divide, like an upside-down digital divide, has emerged in the last few years, where the disadvantage is not linked to less connection, but social disadvantage is linked to more connection, but in particular, less guidance, less limitation, less contextualization of this excess. So if we are not providing a context, a social norm to protect this specific age, pre-adolescence, we are, less advanced families are suffering more. And this is something that research is showing more and more clearly. So my proposal to discuss with you is a staged digital education. So something that allows us to develop digital competence as we are doing, all the great efforts that we are doing, but within a structured and publicly discussed plan of gradual digital autonomy, with safe training zones for the development of these skills. For example, can we imagine a school, a community that tells to its parents, well, during primary school, do not leave your children unattended when they are navigating online. Follow the laws regarding minimum age requirements, and as a school, I'll remember you these laws. We are providing you with a set of meaningful activities to do with your children that help develop their digital competence at their specific development phase. And we are also suggesting you, families, simple ways to filter your home internet connection when they are using it. We are providing you with some tips, but maybe also with some technology that you can easily use to build this safe environment, to build their skills in a safer zone. Okay, something similar has been done, both on in a network of parental groups that is called Patti Digitali in Italy. Now it has more than 160 groups of parents, schools, and local institutions that have the goal to establish community social norms. This is not something that is mandatory, but it's a pact that is signed among these members. And at the institutional level, the municipality of Milano has taken a position on these very practical, very concrete issues with 8 positions in the document called Raccomandazioni di Milano, Milano's recommendations. And if you want to take a look, this is a trial of this approach with stages decided together as social norms. And the last point, new technologies are emerging. For example, I keep reading articles on AI companions and the use that children are doing of these tools, and we don't have evidence on this. So, but now we have the experience of the social media and the smartphone era and the errors that we made, and we have all the great efforts that we are doing in the European environment, the Digital Services Act, the AI Act that was mentioned before. This is an opportunity to test our ability to build a framework that has skills, that has training, that has all the elements that we are building successfully, but within a context of social norms. We lack social norms that help families live their daily digital life. So let's build these social norms together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco Gui. Perhaps you can stay just a minute in case we have a question or a comment from the audience. We still have a little time, even though we never have time, but in case somebody would like to react, we might take one question. Otherwise, it was really a brilliant presentation. Thank you so much for giving also a bit hint on the how to achieve digital well-being and the pragmaticality of the offer and the proposal. It's really, really appreciated.